And today we are joined by Caroline Butty, who is here for her script of Allured 1, which is shortlisted for Best Film Script. Now, a bit about Caroline. She's an actress, producer, and entertainment attorney. She's won multiple awards for her acting and directing, including Best Performance and Best First Time Director at the Costa International Monthly Film Awards this year. Now, as I said, Caroline's here with Allured, which follows two Greek gods who make a bet to whether technology or love is a stronger force. So, Caroline, thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm good. It's LA, sunny as always. Thank you for having me.
No, pleasure. Thank you so much for chatting to us. So, Allured 1, the script poses such a contemporary question of what's the strongest force between love and technology. What inspired you to write this film script as a topic?
Well, because I'm also an actress, back in the day, I didn't book so much.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody said, oh, you need to write a screenplay to write yourself a part. And I didn't know what to write about. So I did what I always do when I don't know what to do. I call my friend Zino Van Essel in Switzerland because he always knows everything. It's really intimidating. And I was like, I want to write a screenplay, but I don't know what about. And he was like, well, why don't you write? I've always been fascinated about that relationship between science and religion, because it's like a centuries-old quest, that people argue that religion rises above logic, above reason. It's based in mystery, whereas science, is all about demystifying what we don't understand. And so people argue that they can't coexist, that they kind of contradict each other. I was like, okay, that's a good idea, but I have no idea how to write a screenplay about this. And he was like, well, I love Faust. What if there would be a bet? And I was like, okay, that's a good idea. I still don't know how to approach this. And so then we kind of brainstormed, and he gave me like the general idea. And so I came up with two Greek gods, making a bet. And instead of science, I made it technology, which I don't know anything about. So, cell phone technology, because to make it more relatable into modern day world. And fast forward 7 years later, I'm here now. So it's like, I would never do it again.
Joe, I'm sorry. I think we have some issues from the audio from your side.
Say one more time.
No, it's for Joe. We have some issues with the audio. Try to check on the icon of the microphone.
Let's have a look.
Sorry, people. It's a live stream, so sometimes issues in video and audio may happen.
Yeah.
Please forgive us.
Is that any better? So still not.
I think it's slightly better. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you well. I can just hear a bit of a clicking noise. That's the only thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. As if someone were typing, but
yeah, I've got
anyone else connected. So it's weird. Anyway, I think I can hear you better than before for sure.
Okay, perfect.
Cool. We can continue.
Perfect. So, Caroline, you mentioned the two Greek gods. So now the script starts off by looking at these gods of Aphrodite and her lover Strendo, who was the illegitimate son of Athena. Now they escaped from the underworld prison where they were confined due to the exmarital affair. So, what inspired you to narrate the story referring to the Greek mythology? I mean, is there any part of your cultural or educational background, or is it just a passion of yours?
Well, of course, I grew up in Switzerland, and we learned about the Greek gods, right? Europe is very connected, to the old times, right? And I've always been fascinated by them because they are so human in so many ways. They are angry, they're jealous, they murder out of jealousy. And I think in a way that makes them so frightening, because you think of a god, it's like a human person with superpowers. So I know myself, if I get angry, if I had superpowers, you'd run for your life, So I like that, because I was like, wow, that's so frightening, to have all these human urges but have these superpowers. And so somehow I was intrigued by that. And I was like, why don't I base it on that? Because it makes it in a way more relatable and frightening.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So what was it? Was there any of the particular two Greek gods that you liked the most, or you thought was the most interesting to write about?
Well, it had to be something with love, I felt, and
Yeah.
so instead of religion, I broke it down to, love. And then
Mhm.
there was only a female character that was the god of science, but I needed a man, so I invented it.
Yeah.
So I invented that god. I was like, okay, it's just one of those sons of Athena, right?
Yeah.
That we just
Good
don't
idea.
know about. And because I needed them to have a relationship.
Yeah.
No, I've been always intrigued by just the humanity of the Greek gods, and I like to tap into that old European story. I find it's really fascinating, all those myths and I don't know those adventures
Yeah.
they went through. So it's
Mhm.
like, but kind of a fairy tale by itself already.
Yeah.
And among all the characters that you talk about in your love triangle, is there anyone in particular that you feel more emotionally attached, or which one is the one that it's closer to your personality, and which one is the one that is the more distant?
So you mean of the three persons in the love triangle, or of the Greek
Yes,
gods?
the triangle, the love triangle. So the personality.
So on the human level, like real persons, there's a love triangle between an attorney, right, and a truck driver, and who's also
Baking
there's
Ridge.
also two women, and then a man who's a baker. Um, and I think I split myself in half for the women because I am an attorney. So part of that side of myself, like the analytical one, I wrote into that character. And the other part, I'm a total tomboy. I always wanted to be driving trucks, it's like on my bucket list. And I was like, oh, maybe I could, get to do that if I, write a part like that. So I still haven't decided which part I want to play because I kind of split myself. And whoever I give the screenplay to read, I ask people, how do you see me? Like, do you see me more as this part and this part? And it's really interesting because different people come back with different answers. So I really don't know. I have a very analytical side as an attorney, and then I have this super goofy, like, laissez-faire side. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean it's up to you. It's personal, so it's.
Yeah.
It was my curiosity because reading the script, it comes up with some strong personalities, powerful female characters, as well as
Yes, I wanted, because as an actress, there's a lot of characters that are just one-dimensional, and I didn't like that. That's always one thing that as an actress I kind of miss. So I wanted to, and also the relationships, they're always like black and white. They're just bad or they're just good. And I kind of wanted to also portray relationship. Yes, troubles, like every relationship, but it's a good relationship because they actually deal with it. It's not just like black and white. And it's really interesting, like the American audience didn't take that, like the readers here didn't take that well. They were like, no, it has to be more clear. But European readers, they were more like adapt to that way of relationships being portrayed. I found that kind of really interesting. It's also, if I give it to people to read in the UK, they say it's a comedy, whereas people here think it's a drama. So it's like interesting,
it's cultural perspective.
Yeah, a lot
Very
of it
much
is
so.
very cultural. For example, the guy is a baker, and the American people didn't take that well. They thought, I castrated the man, I make him weak. Whereas with my European background, a baker is kind of, we have these old bakeries, and it's kind of also from the fairy tales. Bakeries are, for me, that's the ultimate provider. You're literally baking bread, right, in a very biblical sense, and feeding someone. So it's a very different connection with it than here, where you go to the supermarket and you don't have that picture of a bakery and breaking bread, and And I was like, oh wow. It's like, no, I wanted a strong man. And I hope, I don't know, you read it, that he doesn't come across as being weak.
No,
No, not at all. And I mean,
Okay.
I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about what you just said, that they perceive that you in a way castrated this character just because you made him a baker. It's so, I mean, as if men should look always like in 50 Shades of Grey, and you know, that's a powerful man, and that's I would never sleep with a baker. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like the baker needed to be the attorney or something. It's like a, you know, it's just cultural predispositions that we have, and we don't even know that we have them unless, you know, you write, for example, something like that, and you're like, huh, I never even crossed my mind to look at it that way. It was like interesting, and that's when you become aware of it. I'm like, wow, I'm trapped myself in those kind of ways of thinking in some ways.
yeah.
And you did a very great job in constructing this, you know, this perception that we have. At least you find definitely more of an audience in a European festival, or you know, with European people. But you make a great job being in LA and trying to, you know, break the pattern in a way.
Thank you so much. It was, I got myself in so much trouble. Like, I have these three levels. There's the gods, then there's the humans, and then there's the digital world, right? And of course, first time screenwriter, you want to write something like simple. And I was like, oh my God, what I get myself into it. In my mind, I was like cussing, you know, my friend in Switzerland, saying, never ask him for advice. It's always getting so deep and complicated. But now I'm really grateful, of course, you know. But in the midst of it, I was like,
Yeah. You mentioned one of the characters, and one of the characters that definitely stuck out for me was one who was a cell phone, a mobile phone, which acted in a way a bit like a Harry Potter's magic wand, where it would fulfill any sort of wish that the bearer dare ask for. But I saw that you mentioned in your director's notes that one must always exercise caution, and everyone has that. Every wish has the potential to spiral wildly out of control, and even can affect the Greek gods, the two almighty Greek gods. So can you tell us a bit more about sort of your literary and perhaps maybe film references for that topic?
so I thought, you know, I like Harry Potter. It's like I wanted to make that film about technology, but I didn't. Usually, technological films are very cold. They're very like, it's this futuristic world that is emotion just absolutely cold. And I wanted to put it in a fairy tale setting. I wanted to approach it from a very philosophical point of view, not necessarily giving answers, just raising the topic. And so I was like, well, in a way, a cell phone is like a wand, like Harry Potter has, because, you know, we just click one thing and it does that. We get connected with someone. We, you know, it measures our temperature, or, you know, our biostat. So, you know, it's like a wand. And I was like, what if I make it a magical wand in the screenplay, you know, to put it into that fairy tale character? And in a way, it is that. And what if you could do anything with it? And then it's like, you know, it just happens. And so I was like, how do I make that work with a cell phone? Because a cell phone visually it doesn't really translate to anything. I was like, oh, what if the cell phone transforms into into a being, right, into kind of a fairy tale character? And so I came up with that digital eagle, who then you know, ultimately becomes real when it's able to feel feelings. And that's how I came up with it. I don't know if that answers your question.
No.
Yeah, and that's such a good visionary in when you sort of see that you're describing this thing, you can see it come to life. And then when you look at that and you look at when the Philip is describing his future bakery that he wants and the cafe and all of that, you can, in my mind, I could see it come together. So
yes, so it's like in the Sorcerer's Apprentice, where the
yeah.
spell of the apprentice gets out of hand, right? So you have this wand that is used by kind of like people who are not really that knowledgeable. And what if that wand suddenly has the power of the gods, comes into the wrong hands? And then what would the gods do? And I was just, yeah. But it spun out of control in a way for me really fast, because suddenly I had all these layers that I had to deal with every element that you introduced on 3 levels. Now you have to deal with it. I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, you did really well. And also, I mean, I can see that Dr. Faustus story kind of, in a way, inspired you so much that you use it again. And this connection with the, the sort of a Harry Potter wand, this phone, and how we perceive technology in a way, how much it is inside of our life. And you say it in your director statement, the use we do of it, changes the effects that it has on us. So it's actually, it might seem obvious on one side, but on the other, we abuse it all the time. So it's not obvious. It's something we have to actually think twice before using it so much.
Yes, and I think the responsibility and how you use it is really on the individual. We can't really blame somebody else. Like, you can just turn the cell phone off if it bothers you, right? I mean, technically, we all have that choice. It's really to learn, I think, it's one's own boundaries, to what extent it's good and not. I mean, I went to a restaurant lately, and some are open, and we still have to shut down here in California, and both, so there was a couple sitting, and they were both on their phones. So I found that so interesting. So we create a communication device that originally was made to bring people together, to communicate, right? And now I have a couple who make love to each other, who, wanted to spend the rest of their lives together, sitting across each other. And they use that same device to disconnect themselves from each other.
Yeah, that's definitely something as well. It's going back to the age-old question: is the sort of technology and social media, is it bringing us together, or is it keeping us further apart?
What do you think?
I think it's both ways. I think definitely you've got some. I mean, Jay, he might disagree with me on this, but I think to an extent, social media does bring people together. It brings news, it brings current affairs, everyone closer. But in the same way, it drives so many people away and makes them feel very isolated.
Yeah,
I personally think. Go ahead if you want.
No, please go ahead.
I was about to say that I think the condition we had to face just in the last few months showed how much people cannot deal with isolation, like physical isolation. Like until a certain point, I read
I think I just lost your
stars
audio
like this.
somehow.
Oh,
One sec.
what? Hold on, people. We are still here. Can you hear me, Joe?
I can't hear you. 1 second.
She can't hear me. I would suggest how can I say her refresh the page? She can't hear my audio. Yes, yes, we can hear you. But she needs to hear also. Okay. Can you hear us again?
See, that's technology.
Yeah, we got to get on bear with us, guys.
God's help us. Oh no.
Bearers with his audience still.
Sorry. Live stream will go on, we promise you.
Yeah.
I was about to say, finally she's back actually.
Oh,
okay. Then we can say 3, 2, 1, go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
I'm so sorry, I can't hear you.
No worries, it happens sometimes.
That's what happens for live stream.
I will try to go back to what I was saying. So I was talking about isolation and self-isolation. The example you brought up, actually, it's so, shouting out how much abuse we're doing of technology. But on one side, I personally, for instance, didn't feel any difficulties in staying at home, isolated, and doing whatever I love, because sometimes art is a very lonely kind of action, like writing or painting. It's something new and your own creation. But it depends. It really changes with people. So it's hard to say it's right or wrong, or technology in itself is, like as you said, it's neutral. it's the use we do of it that, in a way, we can't say it's bad, but definitely the isolation element, it makes it so so threatening. That was the word I was looking for. So it's hard to say yes or no. And I would say that I wish we could try to live again without it, to see how better we could be humanly, and then maybe go back to the technology again.
Yeah, definitely. And I think especially with when you say going back to
Oh,
try
she
it without
cannot hear us.
Caroline
She was
still can't
to
hear us.
say, oh, you can't hear us? No. Oh, yo.
I
think
trying to have a look at this.
we're almost there. But I would suggest her to we have to say that next time before we log in, she needs to try to refresh the page.
Yeah,
I'll try to refresh for everyone. Actually, no, I can't do it. You should try, Joe. I don't know if it helps.
See if I can refresh mine.
Yeah.
Let's see if that does anything.
Caroline, can you hear us? Not yet. No. Okay. Try to log out and log in again. Out, in. I don't know if she can see me, but like refresh the page. Refresh the page. I don't know if she can understand me in this way because she can't hear my audio.
I don't think they have any audio.
What can we do? Let's try. I'll try to log her out, and let's see if she can log in again. So in this way, we should have her audio back.
Guys of the audience,
anyway,
we're still trying to get Caroline back back on the line.
Oh no, now I can't hear you either.
Can you not? You can't hear me?
No, I can't hear you either.
All right then. Let me come out. I'll go back in and see if that works.
No, I can't hear you. Forgive us, people. Really, it's unusual that so many troubles happen in one live stream. But bear with us. I just asked Joe to log out and log in again, and I'm sure Caroline is gonna log in soon again. There we go. Joe is here. 3, 2, 1, and there we go. Perfect. Yes, I can hear you. I hope she's gonna log in up again soon. Anyway, considering the topic that we were touching before, to what extent? I mean, do you agree with what I said?
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. I think it's. When you look at depends what topic we're talking about. When we just talk about social media and that sort of thing, is technology the best thing? Not sure. But then you look at medical and that sort of influence, technology is one of the best things that we've got. So, but when you see kids these days, and I'm going back, I'm only in my early 20s, but I remember the day where you didn't have iPads and that sort of thing. You just went out and played with other kids. But these days, you see all the kids inside playing on tablets and that sort of thing. So I definitely agree with you when you say, let's get rid of technology for a bit, see what it was like, and then bring it back, without a doubt.
Yeah. I think it's an experience we should all try to do individually, because in like worldwide, it would be impossible, obviously, because you are bound to it, like for work, for any connection. But definitely, if we would try, I don't know, this experience of, there are certain, camps, even experience that you can do with your own family. Let's go to the mountains where there is no signal, and let's try to stay there for a week, and let's see how we survive with that.
Yeah,
that I think humanly we will find much more care in what we do. I think we lack sometimes through technology, we lack of empathy.
Yes,
and that's the greatest issues that we are going forward. And I think if you know how robotics is taking over, how in less than 50 years we will have robots doing things, and we will probably be able to communicate with them like we're doing me and you now. But what scares me about that is not the robot per se and all those movies that they were talking about, oh, they will kill us, they will take over. I'm afraid when someone comes up that they want to give the citizenship to the robots, like that. One day, I'm sure we will be called racist if we don't accept that a robot is as good as a human being. And it cannot be, because is not human, and we should treat technology as an object, not as a subject. That's my point.
Yeah, and then I think as well, looking back to Allured in Caroline's script, is the character of the cell phone of the eagle is Louise will just chat to the eagle and that eagle will respond. And it's not so different because we have things on our phones and tablets and all the echoes, all that sort of stuff. We can ask a question to a robot and get an answer.
Right, exactly. And it's absolutely right. I mean, I hope that Caroline will join us back. It's an issue to close this session without her, but if you can bear with me one moment, Joe, I will leave it to the audience, to you for a second. I'll check with Julia if she can support with that.
Yeah, no worries.
Behind the scenes. I'll be back soon.
That's fine. No worries at all. So, guys, if you're just joining in, we were just chatting to Caroline Tutsi, who is the scriptwriter of Allured 1. That is up for the best script at our festival this year. Just to remind you all to go onto our website, www.miraban.com. There you can see all the information for all of our shortlisted projects in this year's festival. You can also subscribe so you can go watch all of our films, and you can also vote for your favourite film as well. Vote for your favourite short or featured film, and then they will be announced tomorrow during our award ceremony, which will start at 6:30 p.m. UK time. So as I said, do stay with us, do bear with us. We are having a couple of technical issues. So what happens with live stream, we're trying our best to get around it. So we were just chatting to Caroline Tutsi, who is the author of the script Allured, which follows two Greek gods who go into make a bet to whether technology or love is a stronger force. And that's something that is very topical today, as Jay and I were just discussing earlier. Has technology gone too far? That's something that is another big question in today's society. So as I said, we are still waiting for Jay to come back and for Caroline to come back. Hopefully they will. So do bear with us. Make sure you do log on to our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube pages as well to have a look at all the content of all Q&A sessions we are doing with almost all of our shortlisted candidates. So make sure to go on to Miraban as well. Hi, Jay.
Hi there. So I think we Caroline, we lost her because she has no signal. As far as Julia could find out, she has not enough signal to be connected at the moment. So she thanks us for joining, for welcoming her here, and she says she's going to be with us tomorrow at the award ceremony. So
fantastic.
No worries. We will see her again, and we thank her virtually so much for being with us today.
Thanks, and thank you, Jay. And like I said, make sure to go out on our website and check out Caroline's fantastic work as well. And tune in tomorrow for the award ceremony, for which Caroline is shortlisted for Best Film Script. Thanks a lot. And thank you, Jay.
Thank you. So see you for the next